Good morning. Good morning indeed. What a night for Fulham. What a fantastic evening for those boys in black and gold. Welcome to the match reaction on this fine, sunny Sunday morning, last day of November before the old moustache gets its shaved off. Let's talk Spurs 1, Fulham 2. Thank you for joining me on YouTube and on Twitter as well, and those on Patreon. I've put a link for Patreon in the YouTube comments if you'd like to subscribe. We've got a few subscribers over this weekend, and the positivity is high. Fulham have just won for the second time in a row against Sunderland and now against Spurs. And if you want to join the journey, it's £5 a month, and it's really fun, cool content, and everyone's absolutely brilliant over there. And it's especially last night, it was just such good fun seeing everyone's reaction. And yeah, I can't wait to talk Fulham 1, Spurs 1, Fulham 2 in this video, in this reaction. It was one of those games where you realise, God, 90 minutes is a long time, and football games are actually quite long, as opposed to when the game just sort of flies by and you don't really know what's going on. It's safe to say that the game kicked off. I had high hopes that Fulham would get something from the game. I believed Fulham would get something from the game. I think a lot of Fulham fans felt that we could go there and do something. But I don't think anyone was expecting what we did. Anyone was expecting to see what Fulham did in the opening 6 minutes. Chukwueze gets the ball on the left-hand side. About 4 minutes into the game, he was the only change in for Kevin. Perfect lineup, in my opinion. It was the ideal lineup. Ball comes in, Bergvall sort of miscues it, and the ball falls to Tete. And I was thinking, surely shoot, go for it, because we saw him against, I think, Sunderland, against Wolves, I think, have a couple of goes from outside the box in the second half against, I believe it was Wolves. And this time it was a low driving shot deflected in. And I was actually, I was trying to think last night about like the last time we've scored one of those goals where it deflects in. I know Morgan Rogers scored one against us last season. We don't really get those sort of goals. I genuinely think the last time that happened was against QPR in 2017, where Fredericks hits the ball, it takes a deflection and it wrong foots the keeper and goes in, and we end up winning the game. We won that game as well, 2-1. And then I was thinking, when was the last time Fulham went 2 goals up this early in a game, especially away from home? And I believe it was Millwall in the season under Silva. We went up. Mitrovic and Carvalho scored after. I think we're 2 up after about 8 minutes. So that was sort of similar. So anyway, the first goal goes in. You're thinking, what a great start. I mean, that is ideal against it. It sort of. I mean, we scored early at Villa when the crowd was down and they were on a low ebb, and then we did it at Spurs. So I was thinking, okay, well, it's still early. We've got a lot to do. They're going to come right back at us. And then Vicario makes this ridiculous error. He comes out of his goal, gives the ball away. King could panic. He could panic and release the ball too early and sort of give the ball away. But no, he absolutely does perfectly. He plays a sensible pass back to Wilson, and Wilson's just got the awareness to know where the goal is and what he needs to do. Was it a cross? No, he went for goal, and it's just perfect. And it's so funny because Danso slipped, which obviously helps the trajectory of the ball go into the back of the net. But there's no Spurs player on the line. There's no Spurs player tracking back to get onto the line. Vicario's in no man's land. It looks ridiculous. It's an awful error. They're getting booed. Fulham are 2 up. From my position in the press box, I'm sort of frozen. I have no idea what to do. I've got a lovely guy to my right-hand side who's a Spurs fan, who works at the company I used to work for. He doesn't really seem too fazed by it, but I'm sort of in this state of absolute delirium. I've got all the Fulham people behind me as well, sort of going crazy as well. So it was just great fun. And the away end, the roar from the away end when their second goal winning was fantastic. The Fulham fans absolutely loving it. I'll recap the game, then we'll go to the comments. And then look, I think the rest of the first half we defended really, really well. Anderson at the heart of it, headering balls away. He got a couple of knocks as well, where he had to go down injured. Bassi did some really good work as well to win a free kick over on the far side, on the near side where the Fulham fans were. And yeah, we got to half time. I was thinking, okay, we're halfway there, living on a prayer. Let's just get through this. And the second half was an uncomfortable watch. And I think it shows two sides to Fulham. A side that, oh, I didn't even mention that Chukwueze went round the keeper, and Van der Ven came back and made a huge tackle, and then Chukwueze also hit the post. Fulham could have had 4 in the first half for sure. I think there was a covering man as well, so I think if he'd have got a shot away, Chukwueze, I'm not sure if it would have gone in, but great recovery tackle from Van der Ven. That is just good defending. But for the first 25 minutes, 30 minutes, I want to watch it back because it feels as if Fulham could have scored every time they ventured forward. We looked so dangerous. They were playing such a high line. We got sort of in behind them quite easily. Jimenez, his hold-up play was magnificent. I think CJ mentioned it after the game. He tweeted it, that it will go under the radar. But Raul's performance was really good. It's exactly what you need. Like CJ said, he led the line really, really well. And I mean, it's a lot to ask from him to play on Tuesday as well. And he's probably going to have to. So what a performance from him. There's a press conference tomorrow at 9:30, so we can go through those individual sort of players tomorrow, hopefully, ahead of Man City. So yeah, it's a really quick turnaround. We're into the thick and fast nature of the festive football, which I am delighted by because it's the best job in the world, covering your team, especially when they win. And finally, we won a game away from home. The last time we did that was against Thomas Frank's Brentford. It's a great feeling to beat any team away from home, but especially in London, where you don't have to trek too far home. I was back in the pub by quarter to midnight, and then stupidly up to about 3 a.m. celebrating the win. So I'm feeling slightly jaded and off to the pub for a roast dinner in about an hour and a half's time. So yeah, you got to feel the highs. The highs are highs, the lows are pretty low, and we've had our fair share of lows this season. So you've got to really celebrate, and even if it's a quick turnaround, you got to revel in the highs before Manchester City. So yeah, the second half was an uncomfortable watch because Kudus gets a goal. Should Leno do better? Probably yes. I think he's caught out at his near post. Probably doesn't expect the shot to come in with that amount of velocity, with that amount of power. And there's a really uncomfortable stage for 5-10 minutes where Fulham just can't keep the ball. Spurs are overturning it. They're entering the final third. They didn't pepper the goal too much. Like they had a couple of chances. Colin Moani flicked one wide. There was a header off the line by Raul, which was an amazing header, to be fair, off the line after it was flicked on at the near post. They didn't I don't remember Leno having to make like a massive big save at all in the whole game, like with his legs, with his hands. And once we rode that period, we made a couple of changes at the right time. We slowed the game down, and from there we were really, really sensible in our approach. We slowed it down. We won free kicks. We frustrated the crowd. Spurs were mucking about themselves. They got like 2 or 3 throw-ins on the near side, and they were taking too long to take them. These were just like routine throw-ins, and they were wasting their own time. I was amazed that 4 minutes went up for added time. I thought it would be like 6. I was being a little bit pessimistic. I was thinking that if we dropped, I genuinely think that dropping 2 points from a 2-0 lead to a 2-2 is one of the worst things that can happen in football. Or like 3-1 to 3-all, 4-2 to 4-all, etc. It's so disheartening, and so I'm delighted that we got through it. Let's go through some of the comments because I know there's a few on YouTube. We'll start actually just with this one on Twitter. How one-sided is this Harry Wilson and Thomas Frank rivalry? Unbelievable, isn't it? It's just unbelievable. Was my first Fulham away day in 14 years. What a game to pick. That is brilliant. I hope you enjoyed it because it was a really fun away day. Can't win the raffle if you don't buy a ticket. Absolutely. That was absolutely brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why Harry Wilson went for goal. Hi, Jack. Good morning. I went yesterday. What a great performance. Hopefully we turned a corner. Silver got his selection tactics spot on. How was the buffet yesterday? The food was fantastic. We had sweet and sour pork. And the portion size was bigger than my future, so it was fantastic. And then the dessert was beautiful as well. And yeah, I was Ricardo Fuller for the whole evening, and haven't eaten since actually. And should probably we've got a roast in a couple of hours' time, so that'll be fine. Raul's work rate again superb. Agree, Daryl. Absolutely agree. I do feel people blaming Vicario more than giving Wilson credit for a sublime finish. I think the Vicario criticism is coming very much from the Spurs fans, and I think from the Fulham fans' point of view, it's like, well, what a finish that is. It's almost Wilson's hardly looking. He knows where the goal is. Sometimes you take a touch, you look up, and you go, okay, the keeper's off the line, let's go for goal and try and float it. And it's just a beautiful finish first time. So aware of where the goal is. I just loved it. I just loved it. Brilliant goal. I thought Van der Ven was lucky to stay on after elbowing Anderson. Yeah, I thought there was some funny business going on there, actually, for sure. I thought Wilson was also at fault for their goal with the dreadful clearance. That was, yeah, because to be fair, you hear my stomach rumbling. I should probably definitely eat something. There's an option out wide. If Wilson actually gets his head, ironically, if Wilson actually got his head up on this occasion, you'd see that I think Fulham were away on the left-hand side with Chukwueze. Well, not away, but they were in a counter-attacking position. And Wilson just sort of slashes at it. It's a bit of a panic because Fulham are in a bit of a panic at the time. The clearance is poor. Bergval's pass is very good to find Kudos, and then they score. But we won the game. Let's not focus too much on that. Bring on City. We can play with freedom after 2 wins back to back. You know, you look at Spurs and City back to back, and you think, you know, I'll take probably like 2 points, 1 point would be okay. And now with 3, which has surpassed all expectation. I did think there was a possibility we could have won last night, and we did. I wasn't brave enough to go with a win. I went for a 1-1 draw, but delighted that we won, and I think we 100% deserved it. So now it's like, it's not Man City at home is not a free hit. You know, it's just it's a chance to climb the table. Results went our way yesterday, where you have Burnley and Leeds still sat in relegation zone. We're now 6 points above it, and we can now look at the teams like Newcastle, like Brentford, who are sort of climbing out of what was quite a precarious position and start looking up towards mid-table. You know, Bournemouth losing yesterday means that, you know, teams like them can be caught. We're only 1 point behind Liverpool. Obviously, they've got a game today. I think they will beat West Ham, to be fair. I think they'll get back on track, but you never know. So we're in a better position. Better position now, which is good. Which is fantastic. Chukwueze, I honestly, the Chukwueze song that got on the This Will Catch On was great, but I still think that the Chuckle Vision Chukwueze song is the one I would have personally gone with in the away end. Me and my friends were singing that on the way back from Everton for my sins, because it wasn't quite the environment to be singing songs, because we were awful that day, but we weren't last night. Felt like we would due a bit of luck too, the deflection for Tete's goal. Yeah, and Fulham, obviously the own goals as well. Fulham have had their fair share of luck, but we've also had our fair share of complete and utter bad luck. And that's what happens over a 38-game season. You're going to get things go your way, VAR or not VAR, and you're going to get things that don't go your way. I'm just delighted. It felt like something was in the air last night with Fulham. And for Spurs to come out and be so flat from the start, I mean, they genuinely were awful first half. Had a couple of crosses into the box. I think a kind of header wide, a shot wide from Gray. They were just really disjointed, and Fulham were picking them off and really attacking well. Robinson coming back as irrelevant now. Cess was fantastic again yesterday after against a tricky Kudos. Mate, credit to Cess, who I think has been one of the best players so far this season. I think when Robinson does inevitably come back, it's a case of, we'll start Cess and then we'll just sort of play Robinson 20 minutes, play him 30 minutes, build up his fitness. Don't put him straight in. One, because Cess doesn't deserve to be dropped, and 2, you don't want to ask too much of Robinson, especially over this festive period, and then he gets re-injured. That would not be great. Anderson for me was man of the match, just with everything, just won everything. Absolutely agree. I think I was talking to someone after the game and before the press conference, and he said, "Oh, who do you think your man of the match was?" And I said, "It's got to be Anderson." I mean, he was absolutely brilliant. He was everywhere. Good morning from Lakeland, Florida. Good morning, Kevin. Hope you're doing well. You're owning the tash now. Well, 1 day left. It's going to come off probably this evening, ahead of December, and then we'll go again with the facial hair. I was surprised by the lack of urgency towards the end by Spurs. Absolutely, especially in the last 10 minutes of the game. It was really weird because they had that, like I said, the spell when they scored, and then they sort of put on the pressure. And it really did feel like Fulham were under the cosh. Couldn't win any second balls. Couldn't keep the ball. Couldn't even get the ball up to Raul. I think it was that Kevin shot that was deflected that sort of was like the first real chance of the second half of Fulham. But it did feel like Spurs just weren't that arsed to get an equaliser, which obviously they were trying, but there was no one grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck. I think Kudos was probably their best player. Bergval's a very strong runner with the ball as well, but he then came off. The subs, Bentancur and Sarr, they don't give anything in terms of attacking impetus. You bring on Tell, who didn't really do much at all. Colin Moani was quite dangerous, but it was very disjointed from Spurs. They had a good spell of 15 minutes, and that was really it. A lot of territory and a lot of possession and a lot of panic from Fulham, But Silva said it after the game, we have to suffer within those moments. Like, we are going to suffer. I just thought it was an outstanding performance. And because we've been in before, we've led against Villa, we've led against Bournemouth, we led against Spurs, and we were level against Newcastle, trying to see out for a draw. This was all about game management at 2-0, even at 2-1. This is all about game management. And it did feel like for 5 or 10 minutes, I saw people in my comments saying, we're not going to win this now, like the game's up, etc. And we just sort of did it. And I think that will give us more confidence to do it again when we're in a winning position away from home, or whether it be at home. I think that's really, really key. Smith Rowe came on, did really well. Someone just commented that just down below. Let's get to that in a second. Wilson screaming at Josh to give the ball for the goal. Yeah, I've watched the goal back about 10 times, but mostly intoxicated. So I need to probably watch it properly. I want to watch Match of the Day, but won't have time until probably this evening. So looking forward to getting my teeth stuck into it later and tomorrow as well. Spursy 1, Fulhamish 2. Brilliant. Jack, who's your player of the season so far? I don't think anyone's been, because obviously we've lost a few games and no one's been absolutely 10 out of 10 every single week. I think Tete's been very, very strong most weeks. Anderson has been very, very good. It's hard to say so far. Who's been our player of the season so far? Cess. Iwobi has been good. Chukwueze obviously has had a couple of good performances. I think Anderson probably. I mean, Anderson was at fault for the goal against Villa where Watkins scored, didn't he? But he's been very good. He has been very, very good this season. And I think the price tag we paid for him, a lot of people last season were thinking, bloody hell, 30 million. Yeah. Anderson was brilliant at the start. He got injured and then he completely, well, he didn't fall off, but he got progressively worse. This season he started brilliantly, and I think he's justified the price tag for me. So right now, if someone put a gun to my head, I'd say Joachim Anderson. It was Smith Rowe, also another great performance from the bench. I think he starts against City. Love Josh, but he needs to bulk up a bit. He's only 18. It will come. Yeah, Josh sort of reminds me a little bit of Cess when he was 16. Like, really technically very good on the ball, but just wasn't physically strong enough to sometimes hold up the ball or get past players. But Cess is bulked up and he looks like a proper player. And Josh has all the attributes. Is what Silva said in his press conference on Friday or Thursday. He said that he's got all the attributes of a really talented player, but there are a few things missing from his game, notably physicality. And that will come. He's 18. He'll be in the gym every day. He'll be working with the best, fitness staff at Fulham, and he'll get there. Which is why it's still important that he still plays minutes, gets that experience, and really, really, really encouraging. Lukic so much better than Berger. We were being overrun till he came on. Berger is a lamppost. I think that's a bit harsh. I think Berger did have an okay game last night. Lukic came on and gave us a little bit more balance, but I still think it was the right decision to go with Berger, Iwobi, King from the start. I trust Sander Berger as the 6 more than I would with Lukic as the 6, because Lukic likes to venture forward a little bit more. I obviously Lukic in the number 8 position, but just behind King is my preferred position for him. We do need another CDM. We do need to sign another defensive midfielder in January. That is key, because I think there's a lot of weight on Sander Berger, and if he has an off game, then the whole midfield looks a bit off. And I think he was okay last night, but for that spell, Sander was struggling, just like the whole team was. And yeah. I heard you guys singing the Chukwueze song on the platform at Crew coming back from Everton. Yeah, that was my friend Dan and Andy coming up with that. It was something I pitched them in the summer when we signed him, or on deadline day. And they've taken it and ran with it because obviously they are in the away end. So they can get away with that sort of thing. I do like it. It's a good song. Obviously, the other Chukwueze song was very good, but this is more of a chant you could probably sing in the away end, as opposed to just like tons and tons of lyrics. But yeah, it was a good one. It was a fun one. Do you think Leno should have saved Kudus' goal? I think he is making more mistakes each season. Yeah, elephant in the room here. Leno should have done better. Joe Sanson texted me last night saying Leno should have saved it. I think he's definitely right. He's definitely right. Leno is making a few errors. Let's not beat around the bush. He's still a top keeper. He's made some really good saves against United. He made some really good saves. There's a few more as well this season. there has been some, I think he's been better. He's been more positive than negative throughout his 3 and a bit seasons he's been here. But yeah, there are some mistakes creeping into his game. He's still a top keeper. I think it maybe would be this summer that I look to sort of maybe change things. But Leno is a top pro, and he's going to bail us out more times this season for sure. Which is what I believe. Cesc struggled. Tiny Tots really put him under pressure. Tete was awesome. I thought Cesc had a good game. I mean, you're up against Kudos, who's probably one of the best dribblers in the Premier League. Kudos had a good night. Like, he was the only player who sort of, like I said, grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck. And Cesc did what he needed to do. He also got forward a couple of times, Cesc, and looked promising. It's a different dynamic when you have Robinson because he offers something so different in attacking output and defensive output. But I think Cesc is quietly going under the radar as having a stormer. And I think that he should be on Thomas Tuchel's radar for sure. Morning, Jack. Palace-esque rise commences. Oh, wow. That sounds good. Emil Smith-Rowe has to start against City. I mean, the quick turnaround, you'd expect he will start. We actually now need to start thinking about City because it's literally a couple of days away. How many changes would you make? I'd bring in Lukic. I'd rest Iwobi. Iwobi needs a break, and this is a perfect time. I'd bring in Lukic for Iwobi. Smith-Rowe for King, just for rotation's sake. Castagna could come in for Tete. I'd rather Tete started. And Cesc is going to have, maybe Cuenca comes in for Bassi, but I think they'll probably stick with the same one, the same back four. Does Kevin come in for Chukwueze? Maybe. Does Wilson keep his place? I mean, he has to, and Raul will have to keep his place. I expect it to be 3 changes, and it's going to be a really hard slog. But City also played yesterday, and they were pushed right to the end against Leeds. So it's not like it's going to be Fulham are going to be exhausted, and City are going to be having a stroll in the park. But City probably have more license to switch things around. They've got a little bit more depth than we do. According to reports, no SCR room for transfers in January. Will have to be loans. I don't necessarily believe that. I think there is money to spend, but I'll have to read up on it. But I'd imagine there is money to spend in January. I'll always love Leno for how he's kept us in the Boxing Day game against Chelsea. That's true. Great save, I think, to deny Palmer last knockings after we'd gone 2-1 up. Would have loved to see Adama versus Van der Ven. I think I'm pleased we didn't bring on Adama yesterday because the way we managed the game when we got the ball in the final third, we had some really sensible heads on. I'm not saying that Adama's not sensible, but I just trusted the players who were on the ball. Even Kevin, when he slowed things down, and it was intelligent. With Adama, sometimes there's a tendency to hang on to the ball too long, give the ball away. We've seen it already this season. And yeah, it's just weird because Spurs, again, like, they won the ball back in like their defensive half, and they were just knocking the ball back to Vicario. Do you remember the game where they lost to Chelsea 1-0? They were in the exact same position, chasing a goal, chasing an equaliser, and they were awful. I don't know what it is about Spurs, but they can't. Okay, they had a nice spell where they scored and they put pressure on. They, off the line, Moani flicked it wide, etc. But for some reason, they just shut down in the end of games. And actually, can I be bothered to go and get an equaliser? So wasteful. Not that I'm complaining. I'm absolutely delighted that we got away with it. Sorry, not got away with it. I'm delighted that we've got the win. We got away with 3 points. I think Fulham were the better team last night. We deserve to win the game on the balance of play. It's all well and good having possession and territory, but Spurs created like 3 or 4 chances with that. And for me, Fulham created more. Probably should have scored more as well. And we will take it and run. Lots of comments this morning. Thank you very much. We've got some momentum now. Let's get it, keep it going. Only 3 points off 6th. Yeah, and that's the crazy thing about this Premier League season is it's very, very tight in the middle. You've got Wolves who are completely cut adrift today, and they're playing Villa today. Sorry. There is there's 6 points above the relegation zone. Hopefully, we can start looking upwards as opposed to over our shoulders, which is why it was so important to get points in these games between Spurs and City. And we could still get points against City. We're at home. We've only lost 1 home game all season. That was to Arsenal, who are probably... I think City could still win the league. I was talking about someone last night. I think City could probably still win the league, but it'd be nice to to obviously hinder them to on Tuesday night and get something. I think we could get a point. I think we could win the game. I don't fear this game. I said this last season. I don't fear games against top 6 teams anymore, because I think Fulham can go there and do something. I love the fact we turn up to these places and we don't sit with 10 men behind the ball and try and play for a point. It's always ambitious. It's always looking for a goal and a point. And, that leaves you susceptible to losing the ball in transition and obviously the opposition having chances. But you'd rather see bravery where Fulham are actually looking like they want to score goals than just sort of, like I say, sitting 10 men behind the ball and looking for a point, which is, and even when we go to like Man City, we took the lead there. We scored a couple of goals. We probably should have got more from the game last season. But yeah, it's good to see. Couldn't go yesterday, but the Sky coverage was so biased. It was painful. Literally, we had 1 minute about us before kickoff and then Tottenham loving. Yeah, it's one of them ones, isn't it? Sky will obviously pick up the top 6 because the pressure was on Thomas Frank last night, wasn't it? More than it was Marco Silva of Fulham. So that's probably the narrative. And then they end up losing. So probably the post-match is all about them as well. But credit Fulham because they turned up. It takes 2 to tango, doesn't it? Wilson hamstring looked at. Oh, yes, I did. This was actually something that came up. I think I didn't. I obviously didn't see it because my head was probably buried in my laptop, but Wilson coming off, it looked like it could have been a hamstring injury. So we'll find out more about that tomorrow. Hopefully it's precautionary, but if not, that's an injury, which is obviously a massive, massive blow. Didn't ask Silver about that after the game. He didn't mention it after the game, I don't think. So, although Wilson did do some post-match interviews, which is interesting because usually if you're injured, you wouldn't just sort of go into Sky Sports and speak to them. So we'll see. Maybe it's precautionary. Maybe it's like I felt something and I don't want to risk it. So we'll find out tomorrow. I mean, 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. So this time tomorrow we'll have news on Harry Wilson ahead of the game on Tuesday. It's a quick turnaround, isn't it? Change for Tuesday. Smith Rowe for King. He looked tired. Should we go to back 5? I mean, we could go to back 5. I wouldn't at home. I would take the game to City. Be a little bit more brave. Like I said, I think I'd bring in Lukic and I'd bring in. I'd take out Iwobi, bring in Lukic, take out King and bring in Smith Rowe. I'd love to see Smith Rowe have a great game from the start as well. I thought he was good when he came on yesterday. Got to say, Spurs do not seem to have the same Paulinho we had. Yeah, he was really off it. Kind of glad. I was worried yesterday about him, but he was taken off so early. He gave the ball away. There was lots of groans and moans. Paulinho didn't. He's not the same player, is he? Not the same player. Did you see Sammy James fall on the quick take? I haven't watched it. I did text Sammy in the early hours of the morning, but no, I haven't seen that. I'll have to check that out. Congratulations to Marco Silva, 200 games at Fulham. Unbelievable. And to get it with a win, it felt poetic. That was what was going through my head at like 85 minutes. I was like, surely we win this because it's Marco's 200th game. And Spurs just did not put any pressure on us in the final 10 minutes. Unless someone correct me, someone say, actually, no, they did have this chance, or they did have this opportunity. I don't seem to remember. After the header off the line, after the Kolo Muani flick wide, they had a shot blocked. I seem to remember that went out for a corner. They had a corner maybe in like the 88th minute, but yeah, we dealt with it very well. The greatest gaffer the world has ever seen, and the people wanted him gone. Yeah, I mean, look, I think when you're in a panic and you're losing 4 games in a row in the Premier League, you start questioning everything, don't you? It's like last night that make you realise Marco Silva's the best thing that's happened to this club in years. Does he surpass Roy Hodgson? I hate this comparison sort of like culture we live in, where you have to compare the current boss or the current thing to the last best thing. So look, Roy and they did very, very different things, but the thing about Marco Silva is that we were really like on such a low ebb when he came in, relegation, looking like we were going to go up and down, or maybe not even go back up. And then he comes in, wins the league, kept us up, and now we're an established Premier League team, beating top 6 teams away from home. It's absolutely brilliant. Was the tackle in Chukwueze a penalty? As in the Van de Ven one? I know they checked it. I think there was a check for handball, but I think it hit his hand as he was getting back up, so it was in a natural position. So I think that's why they didn't give it. Does Silva surpass Laurie Sanchez? Mate, Laurie Sanchez was the manager when I first started going to Fulham, my first season ticket, and it was grim. It was a really grim watch. Yeah, I think he surpasses Laurie Sanchez just about. Not wearing the new unofficial Fulham retro jumper yet. I haven't worn it yet for some reason. I haven't really had an opportunity to wear it. I've got it hanging up on my door somewhere, so I will put it on. I'm going to Edinburgh next week. I might take it to Edinburgh and wear it there because it's nice and warm. It will keep you nice and warm. Okay, let's head over back to Twitter. Oh yeah, there are loads of comments on Twitter. Sorry, well, actually, there's not loads, but we'll get through them. Always wanted to ask, in some away games, would you rather be in the away end or the press box? Yeah, I get this question a lot. Like, I think maybe asked me last year, and I'd probably be like, "Oh, I really wish I was in the away end for this one." But now I'm so locked into like the job and the patterns of what you need to be doing. I'll always pick the press box now, just because there's a job to do and you want to represent the fans in the best possible way. It's all fun and like I managed to get to the pub and have a couple of drinks last night, and and still get fairly fairly jolly, let's just say. So there's a nice balance to it, and obviously 8 o'clock kickoffs are not like every week. So usually a 3 o'clock or a 12:30, you can still have a good time with your mates after the game, talk about the game. So yeah, I very much love the job I do now, and I think I've done the away end enough times now to experience all the highs and all the lows you can get from an away end. Obviously, it's great to sort of chat with Fulham fans, and because in the press box, there's not many Fulham in the press box, but yeah, I like locking into to the job and getting the quotes from Silver and trying to give the fans what they want to see, which is why you should subscribe to Patreon. There's a nice little segue there. £5 a month, and it's you get loads of Fulham content there, and it's really good stuff and it's really good fun. Love it. Having players back from injury is brilliant. Hoping a win like that can spur, no pun intended, us on. Absolutely. Emma Smith Rowe looked good coming on. Didn't stop running. Wilson went off injured yesterday. Yeah, this whole thing, like Wilson went off injured again. Like then he goes and speaks to the media. Like obviously, like you could do your hamstring and still speak to the media. That's fine, but I would just wonder if, like, I don't know. I guess we'll find out tomorrow because no one asked after the game, to be fair. Chukwueze and Kevin for City. In fact, even other quotes that came from like Sky and Match of the Day, like I don't think Silver mentioned Harry Wilson's injury. So unless they have and I haven't seen it. Chukwueze and Kevin for City. Oh, I see. Oh, yeah. I guess you could play Chukwueze out on the right if Wilson's not ready. I completely forgot that was even a thing. And then Kevin, yeah, that'd be really exciting. I don't think we've seen them both start. In fact, we haven't seen them both start at all so far. I might cut this one a little bit short, guys. I've still got a couple of bits and bobs I need to do. I might watch the first bit of Palace versus Man United as well. But it's been really fun. Thank you so much for joining. I wish we could sit here for 2 or 3 hours talking about the brilliant win, but there are people to see and things to do. So thank you so much. Do consider subscribing to Patreon. Join the unbelievable community over there. It's the best way to get, the Athletics now, they don't really cover Fulham. They do the odd article, but if you want someone who's dedicated on the ground covering Fulham, who's going to give you all the Fulham content that you want, it's just a £5 a month to support myself on my journey as a journalist covering Fulham, and I would really appreciate it if people joined. I know we've got a massive swathe of people in on deadline day, but you don't stop there. You want to just keep pushing. You want to keep pushing and getting as many people through the door as possible, because I think there's a real need for Fulham content out there. I think there's plenty of good stuff that you can get, Fulhamish and podcasts and stuff like that, etc. But from a journalistic point of view, there's not much, and some, obviously there's not much, and obviously I put it behind a paywall because it's my job. I've got to earn money, so earn a living. So if you can spare a £5 a month, then I'd be much appreciated to subscribe. I think you'll feel the benefits of it, and people luckily say that they definitely think it's worth what they pay for. So thank you so much for watching. I've got to go wake up my brother and say it's time to go to the pub. Looking forward to it very much. Looking forward to tomorrow as well. Very, very quick turnaround. So do stay tuned for the press conference tomorrow, 9:30 tomorrow. I'll put a tweet out later to get some questions from the fans. Take care, guys. Come on, Fulham.